When people imagine the end of the world, they imagine spectacle. A rock on a collision course, a volcano blotting out the sun, a missile streaking overhead. Those endings are loud and visible. They give us time to point telescopes, to build shelters, to rally. But there is another kind of ending, patient, polite, and invisible, that arrives like a rumor and then slowly makes the rumor true. Two players matter in this quiet scenario. Viruses are like little instruction sets wrapped in protein. They hijack cells and ride the biology of their hosts to spread. Prions are not instructions at all. They are proteins folded wrong, and that wrongness is contagious. A misfolded molecule can force its neighbors to imitate it, a chain reaction of shape rather than code. One propagates by copying information, the other propagates by copying form. Both are real, both are dangerous, and they behave in fundamentally different ways. Prions are uniquely stubborn. They can survive conditions that would neutralize many germs. Once lodged in neural tissue, they begin a slow, irreversible collapse. Memory bleaches, personality frays, movement fails. We have seen this in the real world. Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease corrodes cognition in humans. Mad cow disease collapsed markets and destabilized trust in food systems. Kuru taught an isolated community how cultural rituals can turn a molecular oddity into an epidemic. These are not myths. They are clinical and historical records showing how misfolded proteins dismantle brains over long stretches of time. Now, hold a clear line between fact and imagination. The biological behaviors I'm naming, templating, persistence, slow incubation, are documented in scientific literature. What follows is carefully reasoned extrapolation, a thought experiment that asks how these properties could interact with human society at scale. I will not describe any operational methods. I will not offer any steps or recipes. This is a scenario built from known phenomena pushed into worst-case social dynamics. Imagine a common respiratory illness, the kind of thing people shrug off and go to work for. Imagine that in a speculative scenario. An infection that behaves like a routine cold, but reliably triggers a prion cascade in some subset of those it infects. A pathogen that spreads widely and silently, but with the biological code that, once in your cells, creates a prion, a fatal neurological process that takes years to show itself. Latency becomes a strategic agent in this thought experiment. When incubation stretches across decades, the globe becomes a conveyor belt. People travel, trade, and interact while the molecular process slowly takes root. Whole professional cohorts could be infected while looking healthy. Nurses, pilots, engineers, teachers. The delay hides the chain of transmission from standard outbreak tools. By the time clusters of neurodegenerative disease becomes obvious, carriers and infections are already global. That delay attacks civilization at its softest point. Tactic knowledge. Complex systems depend on people who carry know-how in their heads. The electrician who remembers a tricky splice, the plant operator who senses a failing pump, the surgeon who performs an uncommon procedure. When cognition erodes in those pockets of expertise, systems don't fail all at once. They stop being maintained. The hospital doors stay open, but the doctors inside forget why they are there. The lights might still be on, but the people who know how to keep the grind humming are gone. Detection becomes a fog. Public health surveillance is excellent at spotting sudden spikes, a week with 3 times the normal pneumonia cases, a region with skyrocketing ER visits. But it is poor at reading slow signals, subtle increases in early onset dementia, a growing scatter of psychiatric presentations, small but persistent declines in workforce productivity across multiple sectors. Those signs look like noise, lifestyle changes, stress, environmental factors, until they coalesce. And by then, mapping cause to effect is a tortuous retrospective exercise. Environmental persistence widens the web of risk. Prion-like agents bind to surfaces, lurk in materials, and can survive in contexts where many microbes cannot. That means contamination can outlive individual hosts and travel via unexpected vectors, trade goods, medical equipment, or soils distributed and moved by human activity. When the hazard outlasts the host, outbreaks can reignite in places long after they were assumed contained. Look at history to see how small molecular events cascade into societal trauma. Smallpox and influenza reshaped continents. They toppled leaders and empires. Mad cow disease plunged economies and eroded trust in long-standing institutions. Kuru exposed how funeral rites could become vectors. Those were not engineered extinction plans. They were demonstrations that biology exploits societal structures. Cultural habits, market systems, and political decisions amplify microscopic events into macroscopic ruin. There's a moral perversity here that's easy to miss: weaponizing time. If harm is deferred across generations, deterrence breaks down. Legal and political frameworks are built around immediate cause and visible harm. When damage is spread thin over decades, culpability becomes abstract. The perpetrators might never see the consequences they unleash. Their grandchildren inherit the collapse as an unpaid debt. That temporal remoteness reshapes accountability and makes prevention ethically thorny. Put bluntly, mainstream science regards a civilization-ending prion catastrophe as highly unlikely under present knowledge. Biological barriers exist: species differences, cellular safeguards, and the messy reality of how tissues respond to proteins. And they are real obstacles, but unlikely is not impossible. The scenario's danger lies less in the molecular trick itself and more in how social fragilities amplify a rare event into a civilizational disaster. Return to the image we began with. An asteroid announces itself long before impact. A volcano tells you with tremors. This other threat paints itself in gradients. It does not arrive with a single final frame. It erases frames. Jobs, rituals, manuals, and maps of knowledge fade one by one until whole regions run on muscle memory and myth. With the prion spread through a virus, the end would be quiet in action, but thunderous in consequence. Empty classrooms, factories stalled mid-shifts, legislators passing laws they no longer understand. The most chilling aspect is epistemic, the loss of knowing how to live the way we used to. A civilization that forgets its own infrastructure is not over in a day. It is hollowed out across generations. The horror is neither fireworks nor finality. It is the show, complete removal of the scaffolding we built to sustain each other. That erasure leaves no spectacle to point at, no villain to crown, only a planet full of quiet rooms where someone once held all the things that made the world run. If you want the last frame to linger, picture this. No meteor, no mushroom cloud, instead an archive of empty chairs in a conference room, dinner plates left at tables, a child who can recite a recipe but cannot rebuild a pump. The tragedy is not that we vanish in a single roar. It is that the final few forget how we stayed alive long before the last light goes out.